This is
Hello.
Cindy Rubin. I am owner and founder of In Touch Pediatrics and Lactation on the west side of Chicago, and this is Keeping in Touch. And today I have with me Mr. Andy Smith, who is owner and founder of Andy's Hub, which is a fantastic resource for us parents in Chicago. And I'm going to let him tell us more about it, but just a little bit about Andy. He was born and raised in Wales in the UK before moving to Chicago in 2010. He worked at the British International School of Chicago for 7 years and then launched Andy's Hub in 2017 when he saw firsthand the amount of support it takes to raise a family. Very true. Andy's aim is to bring all the services a family requires under one roof, doing all the legwork required to have these service providers in the right place at the right time, offering exactly what you are looking for. Oh my gosh, who wouldn't want that? Welcome, Andy.
Thank you, Dr. Rubin. Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and hope all the viewers understand my funny accent. As you said, I'm not from around here, so.
Right. It's not funny. It's lovely. It's lovely. It's so funny because my kids, what was it? I think that the other day my son was actually trying to do a British accent, and it was like half British, and then it morphed into like a Southern United States accent. And I was like, all right, we need to work on this a little bit before you start to be, in drama stuff. And
Right.
Really cute.
Maybe we can add dialect coaching to our.
There you go. Well, I was so excited to hear about your business when we met.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten around to, figuring out how I can use you, but I think I could use you very, very much. So tell us how you got into this and your different hats. And then we can hear more about the actual services that you provide.
Yeah, totally. So as you said, thank you for my lovely bio. So I was a teacher for many years, both back in the UK, and then I moved to Chicago to the British School, and kind of worked my way up and eventually made it up into administration. I was one of the assistant principals. And what I saw, the kind of, the more families and children that I was exposed to, is that it really does take a village, right, to raise a child, and also to keep all the other things in life running, right?
Yes.
I think sometimes we forget that parents also have jobs and families that they need to take care of, and maybe grandparents or parents who need help, and there's just all these complexities. And if you have access to the right support network that you can feel confident and safe to use, it just makes all the difference to you and your mental health and your stress levels. So I really was very passionate about it's corny, but helping families, right?
Yeah.
It was a simple mission. And we started off in 2017. I was the tutor, and then I started hiring babysitters more or less straight away. And then we grew and added the music, teaching, and now we do nanny placement as well. And have a team of 3 admin staff that work with us as well, all kind of in the education space, 2 ex-teachers and someone who works in higher education. They have their own children. So they're really passionate about it as well. It's just a group of teachers and educational professionals who wanted to make family life easier. So we have a mission, and hopefully we're helping families along the way.
Oh, I'm sure you are. And how do you find your people?
Yeah.
On both ends.
Right. That's such a good question. So in terms of the service partners, it's a lot of, reach out both through the conventional ways, recruitment sites, a lot of social media to just meeting people, using higher education facilities to, meet kind of students who would have availability, because that's the key, isn't it? It's not so much finding the people, it's finding the people who are free at the time that you need them to be free.
Right.
So that was a challenge initially, is, a lot of the people I knew from being a teacher were still busy during the day. But a lot of these services also happen during the day when the families that we work with are equally busy with work. So
Right.
yes, a lot of outreach, a lot of kind of networking, through all sorts of facets. And I think that's one of the joys of for families for working with agencies rather than doing this all there on their own, is that you're having to talk to all these people in all these different places, and you're posting these Facebook groups and meet
Right.
people, but then you're not sure if the person that you met online is actually the person that you're going to meet. And obviously we take all the legwork out. We do the background checks, we're collecting references, and then we also have the kind of oversight of being able to collect reviews too.
Okay.
So not only are we meeting these people, we're vetting them, we're also tracking them as our families use them, so that we're kind of, if there are any little problems or maybe some extra training or assistance that we can give to make our service partners even better,
Yeah.
we're able to do that as well.
Wow, that's fantastic. And how many people do you have now?
Great question. Yeah. So that's the fun thing about our industry, right? Is that you never truly know until you go to use someone if they're available or not.
Right.
So we have a database of around 100 people. The question is, if you ask me for a Mandarin tutor at 4 p.m. on a Tuesday, it might be yes, we have one of those, or it might be we used to have one of those, but now they have started their master's program and aren't available anymore. So yeah, we definitely have a really large database of people. But that's the beautiful thing, is that if we don't have someone, we'll immediately switch on our recruitment kind of approach and get someone hired for you within a couple of weeks.
Wow.
And we've done all the legwork. We've done the background check, the references, just makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
That was I wish I knew you when my kids were little, wasn't
yes,
it?
yes. And my kids are not that big yet. So, we still have some of these needs, seriously. And, and it is for exactly the reasons that you just said, it's such a fluid sort of, people who do this do not always do it forever. And so you could have a great nanny or a great babysitter or a great tutor, and then suddenly they start their master's program or they start whatever.
Yeah.
And then you're stuck. And I still remember when I was a new mom with my first, and I had we were doing a nanny share, which took long enough to find.
Right.
And then it wasn't that long before our nanny, who was absolutely amazing, and now has kids of her own, but she said that she was going into a different a program, and she had to quit. And I remember hearing it, sitting in the car, and just had tears streaming down my face, because it was so much stress that I knew I was suddenly going to have, trying to find somebody that I trusted and was available for what I needed.
Right. Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing. Well, I'm sorry that happened to you.
Well,
yeah. The beautiful thing about working with an agency, we're always recruiting. So even if we don't need people, we're still recruiting because we may need them. So it's always that having that foresight, right? That you constantly, I see, students coming home from university, and they're coming home for the summer. I'm immediately reaching out. Hello, so nice to meet you. I'm Andy with Andy. So, and I'm just constant funnel of a recruitment funnel, so that we if unfortunately your nanny has to move on, as yours did, hopefully we have a replacement there ready and waiting.
And do you have will you help people find just like a summer sitter?
100%. Yeah. So we have kind of various rates that we'll do for, and that's the important thing to understand about our agency, is we do both. So we do that kind of hourly, which for some is less commitment. We'll do that kind of hourly babysitter that you want, Saturday mornings, because the kids go to taekwondo, rugby, and soccer in 3 different places, and you can't do all of them at once. So we can do that, and very low commitment. And then we also will do a much kind of more white glove service, where we do all the recruitment, the background check, and those kinds of things. But then that person becomes your kind of what we call a domestic employee. So we can do both, whichever families would prefer.
Okay. And you do the matchmaking, but then like the contract and payment and everything is done by the family?
Kind of.
Kind
So
of.
believe it or
Okay.
not, we do say that we're a full service agency, and
Yeah.
we do believe that. So we have a payroll service already set up. We
Okay.
have a contract that the family can use. We have templates and everything that a family would need to carry out that recruitment. We already have in place. So that's why I say kind of, because we almost we're in touch with families even after we've placed nannies. If there's difficult conversations that need to be had, or maybe training or renewal of CPR and things. We're
Yes.
always there. My mission was to make family life easier, right?
Right.
So
Right.
whatever we can do, even if we've already placed a nanny but a family needs support, then that's what we're there for.
Okay. All right. That's great. I mean, I was tearing out my hair doing my nanny taxes.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
we have a great third-party service that we use, and they handle all of that for you. So you just pay them monthly, and they do the rest.
Okay. You don't necessarily need to have anything to do with taxes if you're not employing somebody for a certain amount of hours, right? So,
Right.
yeah. So there's plenty of ways to still be, having sitters and having
Yeah.
help if you don't need a lot.
Right.
And not worrying about all the nanny taxes and everything.
100%.
So,
Yeah. And the other thing that we do, those people that use us hourly, we do run reports for them at the end of the year if they want to, because there's various child tax credits, or sometimes employee reimbursement and those kinds of things. So because we use an app to track all of that, we can just run a report at the end of the year, which then
Nice.
shows you how much you paid the babysitter, how much you paid Andy's hub, when you
Okay.
use them, so you can,
Yes.
makes tax life a little easier too.
Yes.
I actually even, there's a few accountants that I email with now. I don't in the family to say, here's so and so, please chat with him about taxes, and then I can handle the rest.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
And do you serve the entire Chicagoland area? Are you more in the city?
Yeah, so we are expanding all the time, and that's the beautiful thing about our agency I mentioned earlier. We're always recruiting, so we're really well staffed in the city and close suburbs. Oak Park, River Forest. Our area.
Yes.
And then we're kind of I would say right now pretty well staffed all the way up to kind of Wilmette, Kenilworth, right out as far as Naperville, and then some of the southwest suburbs, even down to kind of places like Beverly and in the city. So pretty well geographically spread out.
Yeah.
And as well, as long as people give us enough notice, if we're not yet have a good presence in your area, we'll definitely do the recruitment and make sure that we have the people, because that's the other thing, isn't it? A lot of people say you need 3 babysitters, right? When if you're doing this on your own, you have 3 babysitters, so chances are one of them will be free. Well, imagine having a list of 50 that you can pull from, and that's always our objective, to have a huge database, so that the great thing is as well, our app pushes all this out for us. So we put a request in, and it pushes out 5 at a time. So it goes through our whole list 5 at a time until someone accepts the job. And obviously, you imagine trying to text, call, or Facebook message 50 babysitters a day if you needed something. So it's all about volume.
Right. And I presume, I was looking through some of the stuff on your Facebook page, and it looks like, there's just people with so many different backgrounds. And I presume there's people who, if you have a kid with special needs, that there's people with more experience with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also, we obviously get to know our families very well and our sitters. So it may be that initially they didn't have much experience, but also through our agency, they gained experience. But yeah, we have people, especially on the tutoring side. I'm thinking of a specific tutor who has a master's in special education.
Oh wow.
So we really can cover a really wide range of needs. And I actually, part of my role at the school is in special education. So I definitely have, been exposed to that, and know, those families who maybe are struggling with those, we really can be a beacon, just to take some of the weight off when family life is difficult. So
yeah. Do you have cat sitters?
I actually get asked often about animal side of stuff. We haven't
Yeah.
branched out into that yet because our insurance is expensive enough
Okay.
already
Yeah.
dealing with children. But we do have some great referrals for people that we know
Okay.
who do. Yeah, we
Yeah.
some of our babysitters do actually accept like house sitting jobs.
Okay.
So I guess as part of a house sit, you may look
Yes.
after a cat too.
Yes. Yes. I mean, these are just all the things that people
Right.
need.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I keep thinking about just how in my business to better serve people and what are people really looking for. And I mean, as a new parent, or just not even a new parent, just as a parent, I always say you have to have your village, and that, just having somebody that you can trust to find you your village.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, what an amazing service. That's fantastic.
But
Do you
also,
have Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, also to pay you a compliment, how wonderful that you're able to be part of that village and all the skills
Thank
that you
you.
bring. So
Thank
thank you
you.
for all that you're doing, because I know it's very valuable to new parents.
I love doing it. I love
Yeah.
doing it. So, do you have any funny stories from the business
I
that
think
you can share?
yeah. I think probably I did once when I was tutoring have a dog that actually ate the homework. That really did happen before my eyes. So yeah, great dog, loved him to bits, but he was very slobbery and he liked to chew. So
Yes.
that was a good one. I think
Yes.
my stressful moment, and I'm glad that we get to handle this, because sometimes it can be funny, is when a babysitter cancels an hour before, and
Mhm.
I can guarantee, we always say, we have a little joke in the admin team, you can never do anything nice if a babysitting placement is booked, because I can guarantee that there'll be a last minute cancellation. We had one once. My babysitting coordinator Katie was on a beach. I was at a house party. Our other coordinator was abroad. So we're all kind of like hiding in corners, or like he's like trying to get because it's windy on the beach. She's trying to get signal and be heard. So yeah, but luckily that the agency is handling that and not you, because
Right.
you're getting ready to go to an important meeting or head to a wedding, and yeah,
Right.
so,
Right.
so that's why the village is there.
Yeah. And you found somebody, I presume.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. There was one time where that person was me, actually.
Well, yes, and yep. It's like in medicine, if you're the chief resident and your resident calls off, you may be the one doing the ER shift, and that
Yeah.
just comes with the territory. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's very, very, very seldom have we not been able to find a replacement. That's the beautiful thing about having such a big database, right? You can generally always find someone, or I say, oh, okay.
Right.
And I get in the car and off I go.
Right. Yeah. That's great. And I've been in those situations too, where I'm like just trying to get a signal. I'm out to dinner. I'm wherever I am when a patient calls, and you just figure it out. And that's what the service industry is about.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
Well, it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing that you're doing. And it just sounds like you really listen to what people need and figure out how to provide it for them, and are continually expanding in order to do more and more of that, which is great.
Right. Yeah. And that's the other thing, I'm glad you brought that up, is that we have a lot of services already. Like I mentioned earlier, we various musical instruments in the home, tutoring in home. We also help families if they, in some schools, they allow children to have like a one-to-one. So we've helped with, sending, one-to-one support to a school. Then we do the babysitting, the nanny placement. But then we're also, I always put this in my newsletter, is let us know how we can help. So sometimes we'll have people reach out who maybe need, like a cook or like meal prep a couple of times a week. We're definitely willing to help you try and find the village, even if it's not on our website. Reach out, and if we don't have it, we'll certainly try and find it.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Now, what do you have any advice about what to look for, what we as parents should be asking and looking for when we're trying to find somebody?
Yes, lots.
Okay, give us a
Um,
few.
right, yeah. So I actually taught a workshop fairly recently for a group of mums in Elmhurst, the
Okay.
Elmhurst Mums Group. So that's on our YouTube channel. The whole hour video is on there. So
Oh,
if
okay.
you want to go and watch it,
Well,
please
look,
do.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing, that how I started that presentation was the safety aspect, right? And that, there are so many facets to that, and you'll appreciate as a medical professional, you'll appreciate some of these things. But, initially having that person come into your house is, knowing, and feel free, to ask us. Obviously, all of our service partners are background check, but feel free to ask us about the background check. How
Okay.
recently was it run? And then we don't require our service partners to be first aid trained, but we do track those that are and those that aren't. So if
Mhm.
maybe your child has a nut allergy, or bee stings, or those kinds of things, making sure that the person that you're having into your home is able to deal with that.
Mhm.
And we're also very realistic that not all of the families in the area are able to use our services, right? Family concierge service comes with a premium. So we also want to make sure that we're kind of helping those families that maybe can't use our services do
Mhm.
that. So yeah, safety from thinking about the people coming into your home, but then also thinking about what you can do to help that whatever service you're using happen safely. So making sure you're leaving notes about medication, that you're if there's any kind of emergency procedures that you might need. If if a condo building, you might have certain exits to use and not to use. So just thinking about the communication and safety side first before that person comes to your home, I think is vital, because then you can have peace of mind. Now, something
Yep.
that people always overlook. So one of my top tips, I guess, is contacts. So you'll assume, right? You've probably texted with the sitter, and you and the sitter know each other well.
Right.
But if you go to, I know you and I have both been to the movie theater, probably the chance of getting signal in a movie theater pretty small. So
Right.
just thinking about, if I can't be reached, who else could I have the sitter contact? Is it a grandparent, an aunt, uncle, a neighbor? Do you have a doctor's office that you might want them to contact if something happened? And just having that whole plan in place, and you write it out. It might seem, I think some parents feel a little dramatic when they're writing out like this emergency plan,
Mhm.
but you're leaving your children in this person's hands.
Yeah.
The more information that you can give, and the more prepared you are up front, especially with that. I said it once, I'm going to say it again. Leaving EpiPens out in an
Mm.
easy and visible place, any of the emergency medication, vital. I think. I'm sure as a medical
Absolutely.
professional, you have your own thoughts and experience of that too.
Yeah. Yeah. But, it's funny because I feel like I did that when I had babies, but I kind of haven't done it as much recently.
Mm.
And I do feel like it's that, mentality of we've got the phone, people can reach you no matter what,
Yeah.
but that's not always the case.
Right.
And yeah. Yeah, and they should know where your ibuprofen is and, your thermometer
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
maybe even meet the next door neighbor, and yeah,
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 yeah, just thinking ahead, especially if we have families who maybe have some, I'm thinking allergies,
yes,
behavioral difficulties,
yes,
those kind of things that could turn into an emergency situation. Then it's really vital.
right,
So that's kind of my top tip is always around like safety and
yes,
medication, those kinds of things. But then also I think a huge, and this goes across all facets, right? It's not just childcare, but setting expectations, because then you will have a positive experience, right? If you set expectations with, the service person that you're using, the whole experience is going to be is better for everyone. Whether that be, you expect certain tidying up done, or the washing machine turned on, or
mhm,
whatever, the tidying up, the feeding, things not to use, amount of TV
right,
time. I
yes,
almost make it sound like parents need to write an essay before these people come, but just giving
it's
careful
true,
thought, and explaining your expectations up front. When you come home from, wherever you've been, chances are those things are going to get done. And, as long as you and the sitter are on the same page, it's just a much more successful experience for all. So
Right,
they're my two
right.
top tips: safety and
Yeah.
expectations.
Very, very, very wise. Yeah. And that's, those expectations. I mean, that's when you're employing anybody, really, that you have to be.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
It really does cross across, every, whether you're working at a marketing firm or a babysitter. If
Right.
everybody's on the same page, chances are it'll be more successful. So.
Right. And I would have to add, take care of your employees too.
Yes.
And then they will stay with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's really important. Yeah. And just to, see those people as, they're coming in, they're part of your family. They're not they're not hired help.
Right.
These people are giving up their time, and they may have families too, that they're giving up time with to come and help yours. So yeah, definitely making people feel appreciated and valued is great. And it doesn't have to always be huge tips. It could be, leaving some food or snacks, or, thinking about, the needs that a human has while they're in your house.
Right.
I actually had to jump in and do a sitting placement not that long back. And, the mum was great. Like, here's the fridge. This is where we keep the water. Help yourself. If you wanted to order food, this is how, because it was an interesting situation. It was a gated community. So she'd even written out talking about writing out instructions, she had written out the telephone number to the kind of guardhouse thing. So that if I did have any kind of anything delivered, that I knew how to do that. So those little steps really make you feel very, very appreciated.
Yeah, for sure. I thought it was so sweet yesterday. So we have a after school sitter, and my son had been looking forward so much to receiving this yellow jade thing that he ordered on Amazon.
Right.
He had like a little jade stone and he lost it. So then he purchased himself this jade little dragon head, and he got it yesterday. And then I was home, but I was off doing work in the afternoon, and so my son was with the sitter. And last night at bedtime, he's like, what did he say? Can we call the sitter now? And I was like, really? Because usually that isn't happening in our house, that our kids are wanting to reach out to the sitter at other times. And I said, well, yeah, we could text her or whatever. Why? And he said, because I really wanted to tell her that I came up with a name for the dragon.
Oh,
and it was just like, I love the fact that he has that connection that he wanted to tell her.
Right. Yeah. And also that it's, a genuine, member of the family, right? That it's, an important person in their life. So that's really
exactly. And I thought it was cute that the name was Norbert, after the dragon in the Harry Potter.
That's fabulous. And very British. Well done.
Yes.
I thought of it. I don't know quite what you were saying there that made me think of this, but going back, if you don't mind, to expectations a little bit. If you have reward systems in the home, it's really great that you fill the sitter in on how they're used ahead of time. So, sticker charts, marble in a jar. I've been a teacher, I've used them all. There's, the online things, but just having those shared as well can really help the sitter, because genuinely, parents don't know necessarily how their offspring are going to behave. Most parents say they're much better with others than they are with themselves, but there are those times where kids like to push boundaries. So the more you share with the sitter up front on those reward systems, the better.
Yeah. Why is that they're so much better behaved for the other people? Oh my God, my husband and I go out and we come home and everything's clean and the kids are in bed and they're asleep. I'm like, if we were here, the kids would still be up and the place would be a mess.
You should get the sitter every night.
I think so.
Go around to your neighbor's house.
Yes. No, that's Kids know how to push your buttons, that's for
They do.
sure.
Yeah,
And I
no,
always
they
tell
they do.
people, take it as a compliment because they are the most comfortable with you and they will push your limits, and
Yeah,
they will fall apart at the end of the day when you are there because they know that you will love them no matter
right.
what. And yeah, so
Yeah,
it is a good thing. But
it is.
okay, so I'm going to ask you some fun questions that I ask
Oh,
everyone
good.
who
Okay.
comes on my show.
Here goes.
So number one is, what is your favorite either thing to do or just your favorite part of Chicago? So favorite thing to do in Chicago, or your favorite thing that, like, if somebody comes to visit, you're like, you have to do this.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great one. I think with that respect, in terms of the kind of favorite thing to do, I think it would probably be the architectural boat tour. I
Yes,
have done
yes.
it. I cannot tell you how many times. We're in the double digits now, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yep.
And I go with every visitor, and it's got to the point now, and I feel terrible for the tour guides when I'm like, oh, they missed that, oh, they missed this, they didn't tell you this, and I'm kind of like, because these poor guys are talking at 100 miles an hour to get everything in.
Right.
And I'm like, well, they missed that story. Or I always remember one of my favorite ones was the all the roller skates they found at the old Sears building, is it the
Oh,
Sears or
yes.
Marshall Fields, where they the kind of the factory with all the stock and stuff. And that was one of the ways they
Yes.
got around so quickly, was with these kind of, they were like roller skates that you could add to your shoes. And when they were cleaning
Yes,
out, they
yes,
found
yes,
like
yes.
hundreds of pairs of these roller skates. So
Oh, wow.
so if any tour guides listening, make sure you add that back in.
Now, here's a question though. So do you recommend the river tour or the lake tour? Because there's two, right? I think.
Yeah. So I've
And
done both. I've also
okay.
done the river and lake tour.
Oh, okay.
I think the best one is to just stick to the river
Yeah,
and
that's
do
what I've heard.
the longer river tour.
Yeah.
Because the problem is when you do the river and the lake, they have to rush through the
Mm,
river tour. But then
yes.
I've also done, this is, I guess I'm a tourist in my own city. It's been here for almost 13 years now. We've done the, I forget, it's a dog, like the sea dog, I think it's called.
Oh,
They
yes.
take you out in the lake and kind of, huge speedboat, and they throw you around in circles. And it's fun to be out on the lake. But
Yes, right. So go out on the lake to just have fun and
right,
enjoy
right,
the
right.
lake, and go
Yeah,
on the river to have the tour.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or, I know this is a growing trend now, is the boat rental, where you take half a day or
Oh,
a full day, and you have a captain. And we've done that once and got a big group together, and it seems like it would be crazy expensive, but if the boat that we did was 12 people, and we had it for 4 hours, it worked out about $100 a person. So
oh,
it wasn't it wasn't too terrible when you think,
yeah.
the tickets for the river tour now are about 45-50 bucks. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's really good to
and then you can
know.
go wherever you want, and take me,
Yeah.
and give you the
All right. I will remember that. Okay, so that's a fun thing to do. Do you want to add anything? It sounded like you had two things in mind, but if
well, so
that's,
the other thing,
yeah,
I have to admit, is the food scene, right?
yes,
I
oh,
just
for sure.
everything about, and I couldn't. I mean, everybody says deep dish. I do enjoy deep dish. I'd say thin crust is probably my preferred. More the what they call it, this tavern style, right?
Okay, yes.
For those of us watching in the western suburbs, do you know one of my favorite pizzas out here? And you're going to be really surprised when I tell you this. Is there's a little place opposite Portillo's on Roosevelt Road called McGaffer's. It's you've probably never noticed it. It's a little pub, but they do the best pizza. I
Oh,
really like their
wow.
pizza. I know. So shout out to
Okay.
McGaffer's.
Is it a nice place? Is it like family friendly to actually go there? Or is it more of a takeout? Okay, more of
Okay.
a
Yeah,
takeout.
It's definitely an after work kind of bar,
Okay.
that
Okay.
we probably would have gone to in our early 20s.
Yes.
Um,
Okay.
Kind of on the divey end, I'd say.
Okay. But this is on
The
like
pizza's great.
display. Okay. This
Yeah,
is on like
right there.
Displays and Roosevelt. Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
great
Whoa,
pizza.
good to know. All right.
Yeah.
I know we have gone to the Golden Steer. That's right
Yes.
there as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And Charlie's
Ironically going
Restaurant
there. Yes,
is
I'm
right there too.
ironically going to the Golden Steer on Saturday. So
Oh,
for a friend's
wow.
birthday.
I hope you have reservations.
We do indeed.
Oh, that's really good to know. Well, I have a tip about deep deep dish pizza. So in Chicago.
Oh,
So my parents were originally from Baltimore, but then they moved. They
okay.
lived like I think my older sister was born there, but like I was born in Chicago, and they lived, so they were here forever. And they at some point started going to the original Uno's restaurant,
Mm,
and there was only Uno's then. There might have been the Douai down the street,
right.
but it was really Uno's was the famous one, and that
Mhm.
was where they went. And over time, they got to know the owner and the waiters and the bartenders and everything. And we probably went there as a family like once a month or something
Oh,
like
wow.
that. And
Yeah.
and you had the long waits, and um it was a very popular place, and their pizzas were made a very, very specific way.
Mm.
And my parents were very insistent on not getting anything except for the tomato sauce, which if you haven't had that pizza, it's like thick chunks
Yeah.
of
Right, right,
tomato. It's not just a thin tomato sauce. So at some point, they kind of changed their recipe a little bit. And my parents were really, really, really unhappy. So of course they talked to the manager, they talked to the owner, and find out how they need to order the pizza to have it the way they remember it.
Ah,
And so they learned how to do that at Uno's. Then Malnati's came, and Malnati's
mm.
is related to Uno's. There's
I didn't know
like
that.
there's some, I can't remember the whole family relation, but
Yeah,
it basically they were connected in some way.
interesting.
And the and I think there had been a Malnati's actually in Oak Park or Forest Park when we were kids, so we
Yeah,
also used to go there. Um, but it was like the original Malnati's. It wasn't what it is now.
yeah, yeah.
So this is a long story. So anyway, eventually, so when Malnati's became a chain, they had one out in Lincolnwood, and my parents started going out there because it was just a little easier than waiting an hour in line
Right.
downtown. And as my parents were getting a little older, but they had to order it a very specific way to get exactly the pizza that they wanted.
Ah,
Then, and they knew everybody there, like they got to know everybody there, because of course they would tell everybody there that their whole history at Uno's and blah blah blah. So then Malnati's opened in Oak Park, and they did the same thing and became known and found out how to order the pizza. So if you ever, and now like it's many managers, past
yeah.
when Malnati's opened in Oak Park, and so they don't really know the people anymore. But if you want to have the Reuben special, and this is like really the classic pizza, you have to order deep dish, just tomato sauce, but extra chunks. So extra sauce, but strained so that it's not too wet. So you more get extra chunks instead of just extra saucy
Right,
stuff.
right.
And that way, like all of the cheese is covered with sauce, and you have to order it well done if you're going to do this, because there's so much sauce that it just makes everything take a little bit longer to cook.
Right.
And so you have to order it well done. And if you order that way, extra tomato sauce, strained so it's not too wet, extra chunks, and well done, you will have a magnificent pizza.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to try that next time.
Or yes, or just come with us.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah. Don't ask for the Reuben special, just go.
Yeah, you can't really ask for the Reuben. We always call it that, but they haven't quite put that on the menu yet. So
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully we'll add that in the comment section so that people can repeat your order.
well, yeah, and people tend to have their toppings that they usually get on pizza, and so they go to Malnati's for their first time and they order what they usually order, but it's a different kind of pizza. So that's the thing. And so people come out saying, well, I didn't love it. And we're like, okay, you have to come with us and have the real thing, and then see how you feel about it.
Right.
But it's okay to have, thin crust is good too for,
Right. You didn't tell us your fun thing that you would recommend in the Chicago
Oh
area.
gosh. So you're right, I didn't. This is such a little thing, but I just did this with my daughter. When I was little, we used to go shopping a lot at Water Tower Place,
Mm,
and going up and down that glass elevator,
right.
it's really fun as a kid. So,
Yeah.
on those cold, wintry days that you're just looking for something to do and you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of money for the museums or whatever. I mean, of course, you're going to a shopping mall, so you're probably going to end up spending something. But
Yes.
yeah, you could just go up and down those glass elevators forever, and kids
Yeah.
love that.
Right.
So,
I have a fun story about Water Tower Place. If
okay.
it's a quick one, I promise. So there's a shop in there called Lola and the Boys. I don't know if you've ever
Okay.
seen it.
No.
So Lola and the Boys were actually students at the British School. So it's
Oh.
a British school mum who came up with a clothing line. So I know both Lola and her two brothers,
Oh. So if
Aaron
we
and Julian.
go
So
there, we have to say that we know Andy.
exactly, yeah, Mr. Smith. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We will. Very cool. I'll have to check it out. What kind of clothes are they?
Very fun, kind of colorful,
Okay.
modern, kind of just really fun stuff. Very,
Okay.
very colorful. The whole store is very kind of poppy, and yeah,
Oh,
it's a good
yeah. Oh, I'll have
experience.
to go. Yeah,
Very
I'll have to go check it out.
Instagrammable.
Okay. All right. I'll have to check it out. Okay. One more quick one because I know we're getting on in time here. So, if you could go back and talk to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell him?
Oh, I love this question. Do you know what? I think I probably would have made my 20-year-old self go and do some kind of MBA
Oh,
business.
yeah.
Not
Mm,
because I went from, primary school, what we call it in the UK, elementary school, high school, straight to teaching college, straight into teaching. Um, and what I didn't find until later in life was I had a certain flair for business.
mhm.
So yeah, I definitely think I'd go back and maybe just open my mind up a little bit, maybe do
Yeah.
some kind of MBA, maybe even travel a little bit
Yeah.
before I kind of committed to the professional world. But I got
Yeah.
so lucky getting the job out here in Chicago, because that kind of, I never
Yeah.
really, I did a student exchange when I was 21 to Rochester, New
Okay.
York, and that was the first
Okay.
time I'd been to America. So I think, yeah, if I could go back and open up my educational mind and travel mind and just see a little bit more of the world, don't tie myself down to one profession straight away.
Right, right. Yeah, no, that's great. I took 5. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated from college, so I
Right.
took 5 years off. Well, I didn't take 5 years off, but I did random things and then decided I wanted to go to medical school. So I feel like that definitely prepared me to, or like I was a little wiser going to medical school,
That's
and
great. Yeah.
I think
It's very
yeah,
right.
and
Like a kind
people
of
do
a
more of
gap
that
year.
now.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
A gap year
exactly.
or gap
Mhm.
years, I think, is
Right.
very European.
Yes.
And I kind of ignored that. I thought it was, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I
Right.
wanted to be a teacher, and that was that. But I think
Yeah.
had I done that early on, I probably would have done something completely different. So yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's advice that we're giving to our parents who are watching, when kids get older, kind of, open their minds up a little bit and let them, experiment and experience and go out
Yes.
and see the world.
Yes. So important. So important. Well, thank you so much. I am so glad to have you as a resource in Chicago, and I am really excited to get the word out. And we haven't had a lot of watchers here, but hopefully people will watch the
We
replay.
watch.
So if you watch
Yeah,
the
yeah,
replay,
absolutely.
say hashtag replay. I'm learning that. Uh,
Nice.
and um, yeah, so where can we find you?
Yeah, great question. So I actually put it next to my name. I don't know
Oh,
if that
good.
shows up for everyone, but
Yes, I see.
www.andishub.com.
Okay.
And I guess a fun little side story. The reason it's called andishub.com was because I wanted a .com. And it takes, I'm sure you may have been through this when you launched your business. It's really hard to find a .com that's still
Yes.
available. So
Yes. Yes.
Andy's Help was born on GoDaddy.com to buy the domain. So
Okay. Yeah, so that's the other tip. If you think you're going to want a business or a website at some point,
yeah,
get it
buy the
now.
now.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and check out Andy's Hub because a wealth of resources is there. And I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week on Keeping in Touch.
Thank you so much for
All
having me.
right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.